The translation of the Bible into English began in Anglo-Saxon times. The Anglo-Saxon period in English history is generally considered to have lasted from the 5th century AD until the Norman conquest in 1066. It was a time of significant cultural and political change in England, as Germanic tribes from the continent migrated to England and established their own kingdoms. The Anglo-Saxon period began with the arrival of Germanic tribes, such as the Angles, Saxons and Jutes, who migrated to England from what is now Germany and Denmark. These tribes gradually established their own kingdoms and cultural traditions, which would later form the basis of the English language and culture. During the Anglo-Saxon period, England was divided into a number of small kingdoms, including Wessex, Mercia, and Northumbria. These kingdoms were often in conflict with one another, but they also developed their own distinctive cultures and traditions. The Anglo-Saxon period saw the development of the English language, as Old English, also known as Anglo-Saxon, emerged as a distinct language from the Germanic dialects spoken by the Anglo-Saxon tribes. The period also saw the conversion of Anglo-Saxons to Christianity, with the establishment of monasteries and the spread of Christian teachings throughout England. Overall, the Anglo-Saxon period was a significant time in English history as it laid the foundations for the development of the English language, culture, and identity. Caedmon, 657 to 684. A Christian poet, translated biblical stories into Old English Anglo-Saxon verse in the 7th century. He is known for his hymn, which is believed to be the earliest surviving Old English poem. Caedmon's hymn is a short hymn of praise to God. It survives in a Latin translation by Bede in his Historia Ecclesiastica Gentis Anglorum, and in other dialects written down in several manuscripts of Bede's Historia. Bede wrote about the poet and his work in the 4th book of his Historia. Bede told the story of Caedmon, who was an illiterate cowherder who was suddenly able to recite a Christian song of creation in Old English verse. This miracle happened after Caedmon left a feast when they were passing a harp around for all to sing a song. He left the hall after feeling ashamed that he could not contribute a song. Later in a dream, he said a man appeared to him and asked him to sing a song. Caedmon responded that he could not sing, but the man told him that he could and asked him to sing to me the beginning of all things. Caedmon was then able to sing verses and words that he had not heard of before. An angel came to Muhammad in a cave and told him to recite, and Muhammad was able to recite or to read when he had not been able to read before and had not been able to recite things he didn't know before. One has to wonder sometimes. Of course, further to that, since he had translated a portion of the Bible into English, the Catholic Church sent assassins after him and they murdered him in his sleep one night. At least that's what we would be told by people who discuss the translation of the Bible into English. The source for this story is Caedmon by Daniel Paul O'Donnell and Dawn Collins, called Caedmon's Hymn, a multimedia study, archive and edition, Cambridge, England. And you can also find this online, called Caedmon's Hymn, electronic edition, and you can find this on seanet.org, SEENET.org. I'll leave a link down below. Caedmon then reported his experience, first to a steward, then to Hild, the abbess. She invited scholars to evaluate Caedmon's gift. Caedmon was sent home to turn more divine doctrine into song. The abbess was so impressed with the success of his gift that she told him to become a monk. Caedmon lived a long and very productive life as a monk. He created songs from all kinds of church history and doctrine. And then he was killed by the Catholic Church for making translations.